You need to be eating red meat if you want to make the most out of your health, weight loss, and fat loss journey. What's going on, guys? Jonathan Shane, functional nutritional therapy practitioner, specializing in metabolic health and women's hormones. Today, we're going to be talking about this idea of red meat. Is it good for you? Is it not? What does this mean? Couple things to caveat before we dive into this subject. You should read a couple things. Big Fat Surprise by Miss Nina is an amazing book. It's got a huge prime rib on the front cover, a little halo on top. If you want to be educated on where the American Heart Association and where our dietary preferences as a country and Western culture have come from and how it's been skewed to help feed food industry gurus and, hedge funds and all the things that go on that make this, country make a crap ton of money, definitely worth the read. It helps give you a much bigger sense of why things they are the way that they are. Okay, so is red meat bad for you? Let's get that out of the way first. And the answer is no. People watching this, when I ask that question, they're like, no, it's not. You're right. It's not bad for us. In fact, red meat has some of the most important nutrients that our body needs. Let's go through a couple. Let's talk about macro level first. So first of all, the fats. So a lot of people, when they hear saturated fat, they think red meat. They think red meat is pure saturated fat. That is not true. In fact, did you know that most red meat is over 50% mono unsaturated fats? It is true that red meat does have a higher amount of saturated fat than plant-based fats, but it is not a gigantic amount of saturated fat. In fact, there is over, again, 50% monounsaturated fats in red meat. So what are the fats in red meat good for? Well, the mono and polyunsaturated fats are great for regulating inflammation. They're great for cellular health, cell membrane health, myelin sheath, like all these things that fatty acids are needed for in the body. The saturated fats are really important because they're precursors to cholesterol and sex hormones. Men that eat more red meat tend to have higher testosterone levels. This is a given. This is a very strong correlation. You need to be eating animal fats. Animal fats are good for you. You have been lied to. You have been lied to. Now, there's a lot of people that will argue tooth and nail that seed oils are not bad for you inherently. And there are studies that prove both sides of that curtain. I truly believe that anything that is used to oil machines first and given to us later as a cheap food commodity, probably need to be wary of it, at least wary of it, and try to minimize it in your diet. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that if you're eating canola oil a couple times a month that it's killing you. I think that while there are some petri dish studies that can talk about that, I don't think there's enough evidence to say something that insane. I do think that if canola oil and things like that are making up a majority of your diet, I do think that's a problem, mainly because there are studies that show that it can increase insulin resistance. But on top of that, usually canola oil comes with hyper-processed refined carbohydrates, sugars, and excess calories. And so most foods that use seed oils are usually fried foods, fast foods, restaurant foods that come with a lot of calories that are hyper palatable, which means they're easy to overeat. And so in a lot of ways, foods that are cooked in seed oils nowadays in excess can be really bad for you. So again, that's my take on it. I choose to not eat them in my house. And if I get them occasionally from a restaurant, I don't find it that big of a deal. Other people would disagree with me on that. That's fine. But the point though is that if we're going to compare seed oils to red meat and animal fats by far and none are just better for you. They're just better for you. They just are. It's a better mix and balance of unsaturated to monounsaturated to polyunsaturated fats. It's got everything you need for hormone balance, cellular health, immune health, all the great things that your body needs. Second thing is protein. Bioavailable protein, meaning that the protein that's in meat is already in the form that you need it in. So are the vitamins and minerals, vitamin Bs, things like that. They're more bioavailable because you have muscle tissue like that animal had muscle tissue. Therefore, the nutrients that's in that muscle tissue is already in a form that your body accepts. It's complementary to your system. Whereas proteins and vitamins from plants, one, are harder to digest, right? Because you need like fat soluble vitamins in vegetables, right? And so like animal proteins and vitamins come with fat already in the animal. So more highly absorbable. You don't have to add fat to it. Vegetables, you have to add fat and acids to them to help with digestion, overall absorption. But also your body has to convert those plant-based derivatives of those vitamins into the animal-based forms that you can use. So there's a conversion that happens there that can lower absorption rates, etc., etc. Also, when it comes to protein, amino acids, L-leucine is super hard to find in plants in high amounts, which is super important for mTOR and protein synthesis signaling. And so you'll see like in a lot of plant-based protein powders that L-leucine is doped into it. It's added to it to help trigger protein synthesis because you generally can't get the right amino acid balance in plant-based proteins. It's much less bioavailable. It takes more plant-based protein to trigger muscle growth than animal-based proteins. And usually you have to spend a lot more money on supplementation if you really are from a place of like, from like a morality standpoint, you don't want to eat animals. Most people that want to keep up with their athleticism and their fitness over the long haul have to supplement with some of these powders and stuff to make up what they're not getting because their body is designed to get those things from animal products. Okay? So overarching here, just to summarize, yes, red meat's good for you, and it's going to give you better hormone balance. It's going to give you more highly available proteins and vitamins, which can help with satiation. The extra protein will help with satiation. More nutrient density will help with satiation. The fats will help with satiation. And so overall, from just like a fat loss, weight loss perspective, getting in animal meats is great for a fat loss plan. Whether you're tracking your macros, you're doing time restricted feeding, whatever you're doing to monitor your calorie intake, animal-based proteins, by far and none, red meat can be a great thing to add if you haven't already to your diet. From a muscle perspective, muscle growth perspective, you're going to get the most bang for your buck with red meat. Hands down, bar above none. It's the best for it. So in terms of your fat loss, in terms of your hormone balance, in terms of your muscle growth, there's no reason to avoid red meat. There's no reason to avoid it. So with that being said, go grill a steak or a burger. I hope you found this informative. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel, please do so. I look forward to talking to you all in the next one.